What's up, guys? I'm Alina from LYRE. I'm a producer and writer for acts like ITZY, Red Velvet, Purple Kiss, Kepler, and many more. And today I'm going to show you how you can create a song in a similar style to NewJeans.
Confused, messed up, strung out and asking, oh, where did my heart go? Where did it go? Do you keep it with yours? Do you keep it secure? Are you holding my heart close? Can only hope, cause it's totally gone, out of control and lost in love. I wanna know, where did it go?
So in this video, I'm going to show you guys how my friend Will Cast and I built this track you just heard, which we actually pitched to NewJeans a little while back. I'll show the different parts of the instrumental and then also talk about how I went about writing the melody. Hopefully this will be fun and informative. And before we hop in, I want to let you guys know this video is sponsored by Skillshare. Skillshare is a place for creative people to discover and explore online courses. When you join, you can start learning skills in music production, painting, film, photography, productivity, and so many useful skills for us creative people. I'm personally so excited that I joined and I'm now taking an animation class. As you guys know, I'm developing my own virtual girl group. So this is going to be huge for me to understand how to work with animators and what all goes into creating these characters. I'm so stoked to share with you guys a little bit more about Skillshare later in this video, but for now, let's just jump straight into this track. So the first thing I think about when I think NewJeans is a Y2K music style, basically the early 2000s with the modern twist to it. So when Will and I were working on this track, we really wanted to highlight that. And naturally, I think even the very early version of this track already leaned this way because of this guitar that Will played. When I heard this, I was just like, oh, this sounds like the jams I listened to in like 2004. Let's go. However, to give it a little more of a modern twist, I wanted to pair that guitar with a synth. You can even see right here, I tried a few different versions. This is what I ended up with. There's a lot going on. I will show you guys what all this automation is doing, but I'll also show you these ones that didn't make it. So you can tell from the get-go, I wanted a synth with a swell at the front of it. If you look right here in Serum, that's exactly what it's doing. That's why it sounds like wah. Versus if I didn't have the swell, it sounds very sharp and the attack is immediate. Basically, all this is doing is delaying the attack, so it has that feel. And if you listen to NewJeans music, like, oh my God, that's exactly the type of synth that it has. You can see I'm also doing some fancy automation things with the EQ. Basically, I'm taking this EQ and creating these custom filters on it, so it kind of moves and sounds interesting, because without it, it's still good, but it's, it's plain. And I think in the process of doing this filtering, I also did these kinds of stutters, because I'm pretty sure in the beginning, yeah, you can even see in the earlier iterations, I didn't have the stutters, but as I kept working on it, I felt like it needed more interest because this is the featured instrument. So anytime guys, that you do a featured instrument that is really well heard, it pays to spend some time on it. Another distinct feature of Y2K music, if you want to call it that way, is how the drums are produced, specifically percussions. So if you think about, I don't know, the year 2001, people produced music really differently. Mostly they had access to real instruments, guitars, drums, bass, etc. Or they had keyboards they sampled, like the TR-808, for example. So when choosing sample drums, if you're going for the sound, you almost have to think about what they had and what you can use that really nods at that. Obviously, you can use more elevated modern samples that are better mixed, but you still have to think about kind of the history of where the sound comes from, because if you don't, it will just sound modern. So here you can see with the shaker, this is very much sampled. This first hit is one sample, but these two are a totally different sample. And it doesn't sound like, live. It doesn't sound like it doesn't sound like somebody took a shaker and like shook it in front of a microphone. It sounds very specifically sampled. And Will did this, and I remember being like, oh, we need to really emphasize that shaker because that is what's giving that early 2000s sound. Another element that is very much from that era is a triangle loop. Like if you think about very different song, but Crazy in Love by Beyonce, it has that triangle loop going throughout pretty much the whole thing, and it adds so much power to the song. This is very fun. The only difference here is I think in an actual Y2K song, the samples wouldn't be so attacky and like kind of little. It would be a little more whooshy, a little more live sounding, but these are the choices we make when we take things from the past and modernize them. I also specifically went through and added a few elements that I thought were NewJeansy when we were pitching this to them, like this clap loop. I think it reminds me of, what is it, Hype Boy or Attention, one of the slightly older songs. Just like almost like a live, like a few people clapping at the same time kind of vibe. They also love tambourines in that era. So we've got a track of that here. But then to modernize things as far as percussion, Will did this really awesome 808 hat. You know, with these rolls that really became popular a little bit later. So this is how you're mixing styles. And you can even see this mixing of styles in these choices of claps. This one is very retro. You can just hear it sort of in the attack and how it's layered. And this main clap right here, this is fully modern. Another really important element to discuss for any sort of modern music, obviously NewJeans especially, because so much of their music is so light as far as the vocal and the percussion that the bass has to be really big to fill out the song. So yes, the element is the bass. So we've got a couple of basses layered here. This was the original synth bass that Will did. As you can see, you can even see in the sample here, it's got this really sharp attack and it just kind of bites. But the one thing that it misses is the really heavy low end that fills out the song. So I added this 808 bass underneath it. If you guys have watched any of my production tutorials, you guys know I love this. I add pitch automation to almost all my 808s to make them go wow, wow. It just adds so much to the bottom end. I almost never not do it. So, and then in the top end, there's a few really nice synth parts here. But basically, this is the track. It is quite simple, and this is what it sounds like. So next I want to chat a little bit about the vocals, but before we do that, I want to tell you guys a little more about Skillshare. As many of you guys know, being a creative entrepreneur in 2023 means having skills. If you're a musician like me, it really helps to know how to produce and record your own music, how to mix it, how to release it, and to create content around it. This is where Skillshare can be invaluable. They offer so many incredible classes, from learning how to play guitar to personal branding and marketing. This is pretty much a one-stop shop for anybody that wants to learn any creative skills, and you don't have to focus on just one. You can study animation like I'm doing right now, and also film editing. You can join Skillshare right now to explore so many cool courses. The first 1,000 people to use my sign-up link will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. You can find the link in the description below. Thank you so much, Skillshare, for sponsoring this video. All right, I'm gonna play you guys a little bit of these vocals here.
Asking, oh, where did my heart go? Where did it go? Do you keep it with yours? Do you keep it secure? Are you holding my heart close? I can only hope. 'Cause
I'm not gonna lie, this chorus is very LYRE coded. It is very LYRE, especially with the sort of call and response harmonies. I tried to keep it a little bit NewJeansy because we were pitching it to them, but obviously I can't help putting my own flair on it. So to achieve this type of sound, really what you need to think about is which harmonies you're going to highlight and which ones are more, I don't want to say hidden, but like more supportive of the lead versus pretty much like one-on-one competing with it. So as you can see here, I have a specific featured BGVs group, which are the responses right here.
I can only hope.
While the other BGVs here, They're mixed a little bit less aggressively, a little more in the background. One thing is though, no matter what you do with harmonies, you do need to really emphasize the lead vocal. And specifically in this, I made sure that it was really nice and bright by adding this Pultec EQ here, which is just emphasizing the 8K frequency pretty heavily. And there's even another EQ emphasizing specifically the 10K. It's funny, even the groups that do sing harmonies like Red Velvet, they still need to have a really featured lead, because you guys know in K-pop, it's always like each member's sort of like star moment. So their lead vocal, even if there's a lot going on harmonically, their lead vocal needs to be featured. So, and as to the writing of this, I would say the biggest advice I can give to create something like this is to make sure you complement the beat, but also contrast it. If you listen to the beat real quick, it's got a really strong rhythm, but it also has a chill quality. You know, the drums are pretty aggressive and there's a lot of layers of percussion. But there's some, synths that are like, kind of just hanging in the background. They're not doing a lot. And it's the same kind of with the vocal. It is pretty rhythmic.
Where did it go? Do you keep it with yours? Do you keep it secure? Are you holding my heart close?
But when I go up, it's, it gets like kind of head voicey and pretty and soft. It isn't screaming in any way. So I think the biggest thing to take away is just to complement the track. And of course, if you're writing with an artist in mind, you can try to imagine them singing it and write something that complements their voice. I remember checking out NewJeans music, specifically listening to their ranges, just so I wouldn't write anything too low or high. And I think this is like right where it needs to be as far as that. All right, guys, and that's pretty much my overview of how we created this song, Where Did My Heart Go? And if you're looking for any more production tutorials, I do have a whole playlist of them, which you can check out right here. And on that note, I'm gonna leave you guys, so have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time. Bye!